partner, if things don't work out the way that they planned, we won't let go of you. We will get you through through to the end. So don't worry. If things don't work out, we will still make sure that you get what you want. And that really reassured me that even though things may be rocky or whatever, if I can rely on Brandon, he's going to help us to get through to the next stage. That was the biggest thing for me, is, you know, reassurance that he wasn't going to just say, bye, thank you very much, I'm done, but he's going to get us through to the goal that we wanted to achieve. So really, really thankful, and fantastic service, fantastic team, not just Brandon, I'm just saying Brandon, but it was his whole team. Fantastic communication and customer service, really well done. Definitely recommend them to anyone. Thank you.
Excellent people, excellent team. Every friend that I know, I should recommend Maple Immigration.
It helps a lot with me and my husband because of them. They help me to process the papers of my husband to come here when I sponsored him. It's great. They are very consistent. They always follow up you about the details, everything. It's 100% excellent Maple Immigration.
They helped me to look for my employer. They endorsed me to the employer when I was still under the caregiver program. They're very friendly, very accommodating, especially Brandon. He really accommodated us, also my sister, which I endorsed to them because I know they can really help her. So they're very good.
Oops, okay. Okay, hi everyone. So good morning and welcome to our live webinar. So I'm going to introduce myself first. I'm Shan Bolaño, the client service specialist of Maple Visa Services. And today is a special day because we're going to be, or we'll be joined by our in-house immigration consultant, Sir Brandon Miller. Hi, sir.
Hey, Sean. How are you, buddy?
Yes, we're doing great. We're really
That's
excited
awesome.
To hear from you, and he'll be sharing the three ways or three keys to success in Canada. So make sure to stay tuned at the end of our discussion so that you have a lot to take away with his presentation. So, okay, so sir, do you have some opening remarks, or do you want to proceed with the presentation?
Well, I think I'll do a little bit of both, Sean. So it's good to be here. I haven't actually done a presentation for a little while with you, so I'm really excited about that. And frankly, I'm just really excited to share with everybody here some things that you're probably not going to hear anywhere else. So that's pretty exciting. You know, there's lots of people that are, you know, saying, let's go to Canada and do this or that. But I think that, you know, quite frankly, there's a right way to do it and a not so right way to do it. So we're going to talk about the right way to do it. And I hope that the time that you guys are spending here will be very beneficial to you. And I hope that you'll learn some stuff that you may not hear everywhere. All right, so we're going to dive in. The one thing I do want to tell you is that we have allotted some time for some questions. So if you have some questions, please feel free to ask. We're going to be taking them a little later. Just type them into the chat, and Sean and I will do our best to sort you out. All right. So what do you say, Sean? Are we going to get started or what?
Yep, sure, sir.
All right, let's dive in. So first and foremost, we're going to introduce ourselves. This is the Maple Immigration team. We've been in business for over 10 years. We work mostly in economic immigration, which means we help people with work permits. We help people with study permits. We help people with express entry and all the new programs that are out there. We have a really solid approval rate, and quite frankly, the secret is that we actually just have a process that we follow. We don't deviate from that, and we ask all the questions up front to make sure that we can ensure the success. Now, I will fast forward to the end of that where it says we have an affiliate office in the Philippines, and that's Maple Visa Services, and Sean's the representative who's with us today. Now that the formalities are out of the way, what is this webinar all about, right? Well, quite simply, it's about your journey to Canada. Now, everybody's journey is different, but what I want to tell you is that there's ups and downs. It's not all like, yay, everything's going to be fantastic, right? So let me give you a little bit of a representative kind of picture of what that looks like. So the first thing is you're probably sitting there today or whenever you're watching this and you're like, should I go to Canada? What if I'm leaving this and that? And there's lots of questions. Okay. So it's kind of confusing. And then you're like, that's it. I'm going to do it. I'm in. Yes. Right. So there's a happy side of it. Then it's like you're waiting for your approval and you're nervous and you're like, what's happening? Why is this taking so long? What are they doing? Right. Then you get approved and you're like, yeah, amazing, right? Amazing. I'm approved. So there's that ecstatic happiness. And I'm going to tell you something, just breaking from my presentation here. One of my most favorite things to do is actually call people and tell them that they've been approved. I will never get tired of doing that. It's just every range of emotion. And I can tell you right now, it's probably one of the best feelings that you'll have. It's certainly life-changing. So there you go. You're approved. Yay, I'm approved. And then it's like, now I'm in Canada. Now what? So take a look at those pictures. Should I go? Yay. Right? So there's a lot of emotion that you're going to go through. So one of the things that I don't think that people touch on as much is the emotional journey that people go through when they actually embark on this journey to Canada or anywhere else, right? So again, that's what it looks like. But I'm going to tell you something else. I told you that we were going to talk about the different keys to success here. And one of the things that I want to tell you is that getting to Canada is not good enough, right? Just getting here is not good enough. I don't think that anybody wants to come to this country and do poorly, right? Oh, by the way, I'm in Canada. So that's why I said this country. So, so I don't think that anybody wants to come here and do badly. I think they want to do well. And I'm going to guess that, that's why you're doing it. I always ask people, why do you want to come here? And they'll always tell me like, I'm looking from greener pastures, or I'm looking for an opportunity. I'm looking for, opportunities for my children or things like that. So, these are all little things that I hear quite a bit, but I'm going to tell you, look, I've been doing this for over 10 years. And prior to that, I help people get settled in. It's a lot of work to do well here, but if you're diligent and you're committed, you're going to do amazingly well. But you have to know what the pathway looks like. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because I don't think that everybody knows what the pathway is, and they don't know all of the steps. So I want to kind of illuminate that for you. Okay? All right, let's move on. So apparently my slide won't change. All right. So speaking of pathways, there's two different ways that you can go, right? There's a pathway of like you today to living your best life. I'm going to put my hands in there because I'm off the screen, right? So you're going to have to go from here to here, and you got to take care of all of this stuff in between. Now, some people will have a journey that looks like this, and it's like this wavy line. And what that is basically they'll have a up and down, and maybe they'll get lucky, and maybe they'll do this, or maybe something will just drop off, right? That happens too. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we take a holistic approach to you coming to Canada, and we want to get you from here to here. So I need to tell you how to do that. Okay. Who wants to hear that? I know that there's a lot. I know that there's a good chunk of people watching, so please feel free to comment. I'm just going to take a break before I go into the presentation, and I see Wilfred is watching from Taguig. You want to throw that up on the screen? Give a shout out there, Sean. Look at that.
For Wilfred, thank you for watching our live webinar. So we hope you
Yeah.
enjoy it.
And Taguig of all places. I lived in the Philippines for 8 years, so I know exactly where Taguig is. I lived in Makati, so I've been to Taguig many, many times. Anyways, thanks Wilfred for watching us today. And if there's anybody else that wants to throw up a quick little shout out or anything, please feel free. Don't be shy. And if you have questions, just throw them in. All right, Sean, what do you say? We want to carry on?
Carry on, sir.
Okay. So I was talking about the different pathways and stuff, and here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about something that I call the migration iceberg. And this is, we're in Canada, we can talk about icebergs, but I think we all know what an iceberg is. It's a big chunk of ice floating around the ocean. The thing about icebergs is that you only see the tip of the iceberg. And that's very similar to what we're talking about today. So what is the tip of the iceberg? I want to immigrate to Canada. Okay, right? That's easy. I want to study in Canada. I want to work in Canada. I want to do any manner of things, but I want to go to Canada. Okay. I'm telling you, and what you need to understand is that actually me getting you to Canada is not difficult if you qualify. Okay. I've done a lot, right? I don't see it as difficult, but what I do see as one of the more challenging things is you actually coming here and doing well. And this is, for me, this is the biggest thing that I want to tell you today. If you're taking notes, which you're probably not, you're probably watching on the phone. I know it's Saturday morning, but I want you to write this down. I want you to know that if you're coming here, you need to do well. You have to have a plan and you have to understand all of the steps, right? And there's 3 key outcomes that I believe you need to know to be able to do well with that. Okay. So let's get back to this diagram here. I'm going to tell you the 3 outcomes in about 1 minute. The tip of the iceberg, just like the little piece of it there, it's shallow, right? It's a very shallow piece of it. And really, at the end of the day, when you talk about somebody who wants to come to Canada, you have to think about the deep portion of it. And why are people moving? What is actually going on there? Okay. So let's go a little bit deeper because I know you guys want to. And we're going to talk about what those are and what actually is under the water of things that, the reason that you're actually undergoing this journey. The first key outcome is something I call a proven pathway. Now, a proven pathway, when you think about this, is basically getting you from here to here. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about these, but I just want you to understand that. Normally, when somebody's looking at what their pathway is, they're asking a question is, how can I come to Canada and how long is it going to take? Right? I usually get that question right off the bat. I want to go to Canada. Can I go to Canada? How much? How long? What's the cost? All of these different things. These are all good questions, but they're still pretty shallow, right? But how can I come to Canada and how long is it going to take? Okay. Next, dynamic control. Now, if you know anything about immigration, you know that the government here is very active and they're announcing new programs all the time. We had something called the TR to PR program, which was happening during the pandemic. And guess what? They made a big announcement a couple days ago. It's just become routine now. So when I talk to somebody I'm going to use students because I know Maple Visa Services caters to a lot of students, right? Before, when you wanted to come as a student, it was a pretty predictable pathway. It was basically come as a student, go to school, get your post-grad work permit after you graduate, work for a year, apply for Canadian Experience Class, become a PR. Okay? That's not exactly true anymore. And I still have people that'll come to me and they'll be like, oh, I want to do that. I'm like, yeah, you're like 5 years late. There's all of these other different pathways that are out there that might be a little bit easier for you to do. The thing is that some of these things haven't even been announced yet. So you have this proven pathway from here to here and all of this stuff in between, but it might jog and change, and you have to know how to control that. And that's what I term as dynamic control. And I'm going to dive into that a little bit. But really, when you look at that, what's the questions? How can I control the outcome no matter what? Just getting to Canada, say on a student visa, that's not the end of the picture. And I see a lot of people that they'll get here and they'll be like, "Yay, I'm in Canada." I'm like, "Well, you're only in Canada to the time on the paper. What are you going to do to stay? And what are you going to do to actually do amazingly well?" Those are the questions. Okay. And that leads me to my next point, which is realize potential. Realize potential is actually something I think that people overlook quite a bit. And the question there is basically, can I unlock a better life in Canada? See how we're starting to get a little bit deeper? People are like, I want to come to Canada. How much and how long and all these things. Those are like, it's so easy. Those are not the questions. The questions are, is this right for me? Is this right for my family? Am I going to do well there? Right? And your definition of well might be anything. Could be, am I going to be happier there? Am I going to get the job that I always wanted to get? Am I going to make lots of money? Am I going to feel at peace with the reason? It's different for everybody. Okay. Now listen, I want to go a little bit deeper with you because you see that there's another shaded area there. Okay. And I want to tell you something that's really, really important. This is what I feel is the base of the iceberg. And this is actually, that big chunk of ice that's there. It's the base. It doesn't move. The stuff at the top, no matter what you throw at it, it's going to flow with the current. It follows the base. So why is it that people actually come here? This is a question that I've asked myself for years and years and years. Every time somebody comes to me and they say, I want to go to Canada, I'm like, why? Why do you want to do that? And I get the same standard questions or standard answers. I want to come and I want to find greener pastures and I want to find better life for my family and I want to, get a better job and I want to make money and I want to support my family and all these different things, right? But if you actually delve deeper into it on the iceberg, this is what you come up with. And I've put this down as a mission statement. We believe that forward-thinking professionals truly deserve a secure, unlimited future. Okay? Now think about that for a minute. When somebody is at the top and they're like, I want to go to Canada, and I'm like, why? Well, I want all this, this, and this. It's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. You want peace. You want happiness. You want to unlock a future that's bigger, hopefully for yourself. You want to do all of these different things. And I use the word forward-thinking professionals purposefully. Because if you're thinking ahead, my clients are thinking ahead to what they want for not only themselves, but their kids and their grandkids. And that's truly the reason that people are coming here. You might not think that now, or you might not have the language to articulate that now, but I can tell you right now, if you think about what I'm saying, that's the reason. And it's not been the reason that I've just come up with. This has been the reason for hundreds and thousands of years why people have moved, right? When people were moving to settle this country and they were coming from England and Europe and different things, either French or English, I would say, traditional European migration, right? They were coming over here and they were looking to a better future. Maybe they were moving out of necessity because they were starving, like the potato famine in Ireland, right? But it doesn't matter. It's the search of something better, and it's a search of a better future for themselves and their family. Forward thinking. Okay. Think about that. I really want you to think about that. Now, this is the deep portion of it. What I want to tell you is actually, what are the keys to success? How is this actually going to work for you? And how can you actually get a secure, unlimited future? Okay. Let's dive into that. How are we doing, Sean? Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep moving. Let's give them some more. Guys, Throw some comments and questions in here because I love this stuff and I want to answer some questions. And we have somebody else that's posted in there, the Morales family from Iligan. All right. Thank you.
Hello,
Thank
Ma'am
you.
Maria. Thank you for watching.
Yeah. Maria Cristina
Uh,
Falls, right?
yep, that's where it
Sorry, what were you
is.
going to say, Sean?
Just a reminder, guys, you can now put your or post your questions into the comment section, and we'll be going through that later. And so we'll answer those questions for you after Sir Rando's presentation. Okay, so you can now start putting your questions there. Okay, thank
Amazing.
you.
Let's keep going. All right. Here's what I call the 3 keys to success, and you've already seen them in the iceberg, right? The first one is a proven pathway. Now I'm going to dive into these a little bit more, but you see all those lines there? Those are timelines, and these are timelines that you need to pay attention to. I'm going to get into this a little bit more for you. The next thing is the dynamic control and informed deliberate action. And the last portion is putting all those blocks together to actually do well. Because you know what, guys? You're not just coming here just to get to Canada. You're coming here to get to Canada to do well. So why don't you plan for that? Don't just plan to the next step, plan the whole journey, right? If you're going to go and you're going to take a trip, I don't know. I'm in Canada, so, maybe we're driving to Disney World. Okay, so we're going and we're going to drive down to the US and we're going to go to Disney World, right? You have a map. Well, now you have GPS actually, but you have GPS and you know what the end goal is, right? You don't just plan the first part of the journey to the first city where you're going to stop and spend the night. You have to know the whole thing. It's the same thing with this, okay? You got to know all that stuff and put it together. All right. Proven pathway. What do I mean by this? A journey needs a destination, and some journeys have multiple pathways that need to be connected and implemented at the proper time. We call this proven as we understand what needs to be done and how to properly execute. Okay, so you see all of these lines here. There's an immigration timeline, which starts at your first application, and it might end at Canadian citizenship for you. But then you might come as a student or a worker, and you have to match that up. You might have kids or a spouse. What are they going to do? And then you've got your settlement, right? And your settlement here is pre-settlement, settlement, and leading to your best life, right? You have to understand that it's not just an immigration application. It's a whole bunch of things that are going on. And if you're only looking at just getting to Canada, it's not enough. It's just not enough. Because you're not getting here just to get here. You're getting here to do well, right? So you have to plan for all this. This is, guys, there's nobody else in my industry that talks the way I do about this stuff. Okay? I've seen it for years, and this is what you need to know. This is what you got to know. It's about all of these lines and connecting them together in a way that's going to work to get you to your best life, to true happiness, because that's what you're seeking. You're not seeking to come to Canada. You're seeking a happier existence. And whatever you determine that be, you might determine that as becoming to Canada, whatever it may be. You might determine that to go to Australia or the Antarctic. I don't know. But we all look for different things, right? Today we're talking about Canada though. Okay, so we have a proven pathway. The next thing is the dynamic control. It's going to change. Even when you get here, this has been proven over the last couple of years, it's on fire. The government has actually put the accelerator on, and they're changing these programs over. So you have to stay ahead of it. It's funny. The NOC is changing, which is the National Occupational Classification. It's how we classify jobs here. And there's some good opportunities that are coming out for that for people. And it's funny because people would say to me, I got a couple people a couple months ago, there was an announcement and they're like, oh, did you know the NOC is changing? I'm like, yeah, I knew about that like a year ago. Like, of course I know about that, because there's all of these things. And I've listed some of them in this graphic, There's an ATIP, there's minister's memos, there's research reports, there's all of these different things. There's policy announcements. You know, there's a lot of information. It's coming from different sources, but what you have to do is you have to put it into a funnel and you have to understand. Now, I just talked about the NOC changing, right? There's some people that are not going to understand the ramifications of that. And I'll tell you an example. There's 13 jobs that are B-level jobs, which are skilled level jobs, which will qualify for immigration. After that change in the fall, they won't qualify anymore. And if people don't know about that, they're going to continue working in a job and they think they're fine. But then what's going to happen is it's going to change, and then they're going to file their application. They're going to be like, I'm not qualified, right? That's the problem. And I'm going to tell you, I don't want to be negative because I'm definitely not a negative person, but I'm going to tell you, I've seen the other side of that, and it's not pretty. I've seen people come into my office, literally, and they've got nowhere to go but home, and it's not nice. So what's really, really, really important is that you keep the plan and you follow through. Because I can tell you, for every 1 or 2 people that fail, there's another 10 that do very well, right? And they get through it. And the difference is that they plan and they keep themselves informed about what's going on. Okay, that's dynamic control. Lastly, this is my favorite, guys, because this is it. And I have a term, I call it life shaping, which is basically designing and shaping the life that you want. Okay. I want you to lay and I put building blocks there because I want you to lay a foundation so that you can actually put all of these pieces together and build your perfect life. We only get a short time on this planet, right? You have to make the most of it. So really what you need to do is you really, really, really need to plan that out, and you need to do well. You might as well, right? So there you go. That's it. That is my key outcome number 3. Now, I want to keep going here because I'm having a good time with you guys so far. I want to talk about these lines. Remember these lines that we talked about? Well, I've got some more lines to show you, and I'm going to tell you what the pathway is here. It's very simple. And you know what? You probably already know it, but you just haven't maybe thought about it this way. Your goal is to start where you are today and take very deliberate steps that are going to get you to where you want to be. Okay? You want to get all the way there. You don't want to go through this like up and down and like maybe you'll get lucky, because you know what? That's really dangerous and you can fall off. All right? I don't want the wavy line for you. But here's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about your current circumstance, and then we're going to talk about what it looks like in your future. Because I can tell you this, one thing that I know, and I know that you're going to agree with, is that time always moves forward. Okay? And there's no difference in this journey to Canada. The time is always going to keep moving. Now, there's different ways to use that time, however. Okay? We're going to talk about actually getting an amazing life in Canada. We're going to talk about getting an average life in Canada. And obviously, we're going to talk about not being in Canada. Okay? If you choose to come to Canada, there's 3 outcomes that you're going to have from where you are now to the future. You're either going to do amazing, you're going to be average, where you're doing this, or you're actually not going to make it here. Or worse, you're going to make it here and you won't be able to stay. Okay? This is the truth, guys. Now, if you're going along and you're making the wrong movements to it, you're going to drift downwards. That's the way it works. You think about different things in life. Bad habits will beget more bad habits and bad things, and it compounds and it goes. I'll give you another example. I used to study my pilot's license way back when, right? And if you're in a plane, here's a plane, right? and it starts to go down, you can pull out very easily up here. But if it pulls down and it gets faster and faster and faster, if you get closer to the ground and you start pulling up, you're either not going to be able to pull up in time and you're going to crash, or you're going to pull up and you're going to stress too much on the plane and the wings are going to fall off, or the plane's going to get damaged and you're going to crash anyways. If you get on that pathway where it goes like this, it's drift. It keeps going down and down and down. Okay? Now there's another alternative. This is the wavy line. Okay? These are people that will go and they'll get lucky and they'll get here. But here's the thing. They'll get into a job that's not really what they want to do. And they might have this idea of why they came here, but they can't do it. And I'll give you an example because I've seen this. I deal with a lot of nurses. Nurses will come here. What do you want to do? I want to become a nurse. Okay, we'll start taking direction towards that. Then life happens, right? Because time is moving forward. And what happens is they get further away from that. Maybe they took a job, a transitional job. They're a PSW, like a personal support worker, or maybe they took a transitional job in something totally unrelated. Maybe they're working in a restaurant, or maybe they're working in a warehouse or something because they have to make ends meet. Okay? Lots of people do this. But as time goes on, you get further away. Okay? And that's what happens. That's what the drift is. Now there's another line, and we call this the green line. And we like the green line, and that's what we do is we try to get people on the green line and keep them there. This is basically done out of decision and action. And this is going to lead by actually going through and say, here's what you need to do now, do that, okay? You check that box, and then you move on to the next thing. And you keep going like this. You don't come here and you don't get your amazing life right away. You have to work at it. It's the same thing as where you are now. You didn't get to where you are now by not working at it. Maybe you've got a really good job, right? How'd you get it? Either somebody gave it to you, which you're lucky, or more probably, in actual fact, what you've probably done is you've went to school, you've done well in school, and then you've got that job. But it's all little steps that you've checked through. And getting here to Canada is no different. And getting your amazing life here is definitely no different. Okay? You got to stay on that green line. Now, here's the thing. Look at those lines, right? Look at the distance between, you can see my cursor here. You see the distance between these lines at the end, right? And the distance here, okay? You are as close today to that green line as you're going to be. Depending on the decisions that you make, because time is moving forward, you're either going to go like this or you're going to go like this. And I think we all want to do this. But that's only done through deliberate action. If you get here and you start moving down and down and down and you get in there, remember what I was telling about, let's say the person that wanted to be the nurse here in Canada, they're working in a warehouse. Well, guess what? They're in there. They've got a place to rent now. Maybe they're supporting some people. Maybe they've got their kids in school. Life gets busy and then they wake up and they're like, what happened to my life that I wanted? Right? Maybe they're happy. That's okay too, right? Maybe they're living their amazing life. But if they're not, it's sad. And the thing is that you have to plan for that to get that. It doesn't just getting here, it doesn't get it. Okay? All right. Sean, let's keep moving. Guys, I'm going to put some information up here because I want to take some questions and I wanted to keep some time here. If you want to reach out to us in Canada or in the Philippines, take a screenshot. It's all there. But just connect with us. We're not going to give you some go here and fill in your name and email and all the other stuff, right? You're watching us on Facebook probably right now or some other video. You can find us if you really want to. There's all our information, right? But if you really want to get on that green line, reach out to us, because I guarantee you the difference of what we're talking about and what everybody else is talking about is very different. They're like, they get you excited, go to Canada, this and that. And then you get here and you're like, huh? What do I do now? Right? Well, I'll tell you what you do now. You go through and you get on that green line and you start checking those boxes off to get to your amazing life. So let us help you get on the green line. Connect with us. You can find us on Facebook or anywhere else there, and drop us a note. All right. So I'm going to stop. I want to hear some questions. I see we've got some questions there, Sean. So let's dive into those. But for the rest of you that are here, this is a free for all, guys. You can ask whatever you want, and don't be shy. Hit me.
So I'm gonna go over with the questions, and so this might be a good for a start. So it's from Minjuko. So she's asking if the administrative assistant position, which she is currently working right now, is still considered as a skilled job under the new TEER category.
Okay. I don't want to dive too deep into that because, quite frankly, Vanessa, I'm actually going to do a whole presentation on the new tiered category and teach everybody about it. I'm going to tell you something right now that everyone's pretty confused about it, but it's pretty straightforward. Okay, you can go to the knock and you can type that in and you can see that. Okay, there's some positions that have dropped down. Administrative assistant, you should be okay. All right. Now there's different types of administrative assistants. Okay. So you have to be mindful of that. All right. So I'm not going to get into what type of assistant you're doing or different things like that, but there's going to be some changes there. I would strongly suggest, if you want to, I'll make you an expert in like 30 minutes. Okay. On the tiered category. We're going to put together a video. We're going to put that out. And that's something that has been a priority for me because in, what's today? Just over a month, that thing is changing. It's a new system. But here's the thing. The way the tiered system works, guys, for anybody who's asking, is there's different. So we had a 0, A, B, C, and D jobs, right? And what happens now is they have tiers like 0, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And the tiers are what is determining the skilled work. They've changed the numbering around a little bit, but they're not to get too into it. There was the industry, right? And then there was the skill level, and then there was minors and major digits in the code. So they've added an extra digit, and they've actually put these tiers in. Okay, so yeah, you should be good. But again, depending on what you're doing, because there might be some things that would affect that as well. Okay, cool. Thanks for the question, Vanessa. Who's next?
So next one is Ray Era, or her name spells backwards, but it's Raya. So she's asking if what benefits can you get from the government of Canada for non-PR or PR, like student visa for her kid, working visa, or in working visa. So
okay, so if you're coming here as a student, you can get benefits. Like if you're just talking about student visas, if you have kids that are minors, they can actually come here and study. There's no cost to that. They can go to public education. If you have a spouse, your spouse can actually come and work and do all of that fun stuff. You're basically living like you're here, right? You get access to the different services that are here, healthcare, things like that. Okay. I would say for the most part, you're living like, I would. You can't vote. You can't join the military, things like this, right? But again, most people aren't looking for that. The other thing is too is that you're paying when you're working, you're paying into the employment insurance, right? So you're getting your unemployment insurance. You're saving up even for retirement prior to being here because you're paying into like presumably CPP, which is the Canadian Pension Plan, right? Which is actually not a bad thing. You're providing, you're putting in the stuff for your employment insurance, the health care, the retirement benefits, and once you become a PR, you get everything that a citizen can have, except you can't vote and you can't join the military. Well, you could actually, but depending on what you are doing, um, like there's certain things that you can and cannot do due to security things, but you can pretty much do anything you want. Um, ton of benefits, ton of benefits. Um, what else? Once you're a PR, for instance, you can get student loans. They'll pay you in some cases, some programs, they'll pay you to go to school. There's money that's available to raise your kids. There was a really good tax credit a few years ago that I really, really, actually more than a few years ago that I liked. It was an arts and sports credit. So if you want to put your kids into like swimming lessons or to like, art camp or something like that, and you pay for it, you can actually claim that money back and get that money refunded to you, which I thought was great because you're actually, they're using it to raise your kids. Depending on your income as well, they have a child tax benefit, which allows them to send you money. So I have younger daughters, and when they were really young and stuff, they would send us money, right? We would just get money in our accounts to help to offset the cost for children. There's a new dental care plan that's coming out. The government is offering free dental care to people. I should be careful with that because they just announced it. So there's a dental plan that's coming out for people because obviously teeth are important. We all need those. There's a ton of stuff, like a ton of stuff. What other benefits? Those are the tangible benefits if you're looking at it from a government perspective, but there's other benefits too. I look at the support my kids get in school. It's amazing. The teachers that my kids have, amazing. Like everything's amazing in that respect. I know a lot of people sometimes complain about the things like that, but I don't complain about it because quite frankly, I've lived overseas for 15 years. I lived in the Philippines for 8 years. So, I know I'm very thankful for what we have here. It's not perfect, but there's a lot of benefits here. And I'll tell you what, guys, just as while we're off the topic, one of the main reasons that my wife and we moved back here is because our daughter was born, right? Our daughter was born in Manila, and we moved for the same reasons that most of my clients move. We were like, there's lots of opportunities for our daughter there. Why don't we go? Because as soon as you have kids, I know if you have kids, the guys that are out there, as soon as you have kids, everything kind of changes. And that's what happened with us. We were like, yeah, okay, well, maybe this is something that we should do. I'm just lucky because I already had the passport. So I could just get on a plane and come, right? You guys have a little bit more work to do, but we can get you there, right? As I said, it's the tip of the iceberg. It's easy. If you qualify and you have the means to do it and you have the will to do it, you'll do well here. You'll do well. So yeah, there's a ton of benefits there, Rhea, if I'm saying that right. Ra. I know everybody puts their names out backwards. I don't, though. I don't. Hit me with another one, Sean. This is fun. I'm having a good time. Saturday morning.
Okay, that's awesome, sir. So we have here the next one. It's from Nash. So he, I don't know if he's or a she. So they're asking is it true that we cannot we're not able to apply for permanent residence if we reach the age of 45 and beyond?
Not true. That's a big misconception, and that comes out a lot. That's actually a very common misconception. So here's the thing. I know why you picked the age 45 is because what happens is that when you're at 45, your points are 0 for H, right? The government's looking for people between 20 to 29. That's where the maximum points are. Okay. And as you go to 30 and 31 and 32, your points continue to drop until 45, where you get 0 under express entry. The reason is because we have an aging population. And we're having that now. There's a ton of jobs here. I just did a presentation to employers because we do LMIAs for employers. And, there's a million jobs that are available here right now. Here's the thing. Those jobs, though, a lot of people, I get emails coming, oh, sir, I need a job, right? Yeah, we all need a job, right? But those jobs are mostly going to people that are here. And that announcement a couple days ago that I was referring to, the government signaled that they actually want to pay more attention to students and people who are working here to be able to transition them into PR. Okay? So, back to the question. Can you apply for PR if you're 45 and beyond? The answer is absolutely yes. I have people in their 60s that I've gotten PR for. Okay. It's a little bit more challenging. Actually, heck, you know what? I just had a provincial nominee that was offered to one of my clients, and they're in their 50s. Okay, they're in their 50s. So it is possible, but Nash, it is a little bit more challenging. So, you're going to have to be aware of that. Okay. So, yeah, good question. That's a great question. So, what's the next question, Sean?
Okay, for the next question, it's from Lujung Korimundo. So, hello, Ma'am Lu. So, she's asking if is it easy to find a job in Canada? So, it would be better if Sir Brandon can answer this question. If it's easy to find a job in Canada, sir, can you share us your thoughts about how easy is finding a job in Canada?
So I want to be careful because some people struggle with this. One of the things that I want to give you some context because context is everything. One of the things that I used to do before I did this, I came back to Canada and I helped people get settled into Canada. Okay. So I have a very unique perspective on this, and I watch people and I help people get jobs for 2 years. And I would see people do amazingly well, and I would see people do not so well. And I'm going to tell you, it was actually very, very, my conclusion on that, is it easy? It is easy if you have the right mindset. What do I mean by that? I was talking about mindset. Sounds flim-flommy, right? No, it actually isn't. If you actually come here and you're open and you start putting things in motion, right? I'm not saying take like whatever, but what I've seen is that people will get working, and there's a different thinking here in some cultures, and some people will say, I can't do that job. This is my job. This is what I do. Don't think like that. Some people will go to school. It's funny. We were just having this conversation. I was having this conversation a few days ago, and we were talking about all the people that were studying and what they studied. My wife studied physiotherapy. I studied law and psychology, right? And now I'm doing immigration stuff. Now it is immigration law. And it's funny because you're doing different things than what you studied, but different things lead you to different pathways. So if you want to get a job here, yes, it's super easy. You can find a job. Literally, if you want a job and you're not picky, you could go out and you can find a job in a couple hours, right? Well, see, I got to be careful, Sean, because I don't want to say you can find one in a couple hours, right? you could find it in a couple hours, but then you're going to have to go through all the steps to be able to get hired, right? They're going to screen you and they're going to do that, but you could find it. There's jobs out there, you know. Heck, some guys, I was talking to an employer and he's losing a lot of people to Amazon, for instance, right? Amazon's paying like 23, 24 bucks an hour. Like that's kind of real money. You can actually live on that in a respectable way. I don't know what is that pesos. That's over 1,000 pesos an hour, right? So it's not bad. But again, it's long work. It may be not what you want to do, but if you're going to transition into something, that's fine. You know, I had a guy. I'll tell you a story. I had a guy that came in, and he worked. He was from India, and he worked for. He took a job at Starbucks. He came from, and again, I'm just giving you a story here. He came and he wanted to get a job, so he took a job at Starbucks. But he came from a very professional background. And here's what happened. So he got in there and he got talking to the right people. He was working there. They were opening up Starbuckses all over India. So they actually hired him on because he knew the stuff. They sent him back there so that he could work in like a really senior type job. And he was responsible for doing the rollout of that stuff, all because he got a job and then he managed something. And then he got into corporate and he was just like, yeah, man, like this is great. I get to fly. I get the best of both worlds because I get to go home and I get to have my family here and I get to go kind of back and forth and I get to oversee some different things. And he's like, yeah, I'm making great money and I'm happy with what I'm doing. So you have to be strategic in what you want to do. I use the examples of a nurse, right? A nurse will come and you have to be mindful of your time, because the further you get away from practice, the more difficult it is to get back in, because your skills are going to go. And there's what's the word I'm looking for? There's certainly deadlines that you have to meet. Okay. So you have to be mindful of this stuff. And this is all a function of planning. You have to have your plan together and you have to know what it is. Otherwise, miscalculations lead to that. So Lou, to your question, and I kind of answered your question, but I kind of didn't. So I'm going to be a little bit more direct. Yes, it is easy to find a job here. Is it easy to find your dream job here? Maybe, depending on what your dream job is. But it's easy to find work here and it's easy to get started if you have work authorization. If you're sitting in the Philippines right now and you're like, yeah, I'm going to go to Canada. You know how many people contact me on a daily basis asking me for a job? I don't even know how many. I can't even be on WhatsApp anymore because I get so many people contacting me for jobs. Sir, I need a job. I'm like, I can't help you. The reality is that you really kind of need to be here, or you need to be really in demand. Okay. And I'll tell you why. Here's what I see. People will call up and they'll be looking for these LMIAs all the time, which is the labor market impact assessment, which allows you to get a work permit to work with an employer. Okay. If you're overseas, the employer has to spend all this money to get the authorization. They have to pay the government here $1,000. They have to do all this advertising. They have to pay me to be able to do all the stuff for it. They're in for thousands of dollars. Then they have to pay for the airline tickets. If you're coming from the Philippines, they got to do all the POEA stuff, which is going to cost them more money. You know, very quickly, they can be up at like $10,000 to be able to hire you. They might not even know you. Actually, in some cases, this is the thing. They when people are applying overseas, they don't know you. They don't know your work. And if they hire you and you come and you can't do the job, they just wasted like $10,000. Right? The way that LMIAs tend to happen is when you actually get here and you work and you're working for the person. Like, this is most of the LMIAs that I do. They're doing it for people that they already have, for instance, or that they know, or that have already worked there, or that they've actually got to interview in person. Okay? That's the truth. So is it easy to find a job when you're in the Philippines coming here? No. Is it easy to find a job while you're here? Yes. Is it easy to find a job part-time while you're going to school? Yes. Depending on where you are. You have to plan these things out. Okay. So yes, you can do all of that stuff. All right. So hope that helps, Lou. Guys, hit me with more questions. I need some more questions. I'm having fun here. Are you having fun, Sean?
Yeah, and also I'm also listening. So yep, I'm
Come
also
on,
applying.
man. You're an expert. You're an expert in this stuff already. We hang out on a daily basis almost. Okay, hit me. Give me another question, Sean.
So I think this one's good.
Hey, it's
So
Vanessa again.
it's Vanessa again. So she's asking if an open work
Hi,
permit
Vanessa.
holder can start working as soon as he landed in Canada. And also for the SP minors, is it advisable to enroll them before going to Canada, or is it okay to look for school as soon as they get there? Thank you. So probably Vanessa's applying for a student visa.
Okay,
She's
so Vanessa, I'm going to be careful here because one of the caveats that I have with when I do questions is that I speak in general terms just because of my liability issues that I have by giving people advice and then they're going off and they're like, I was on this webinar with Brandon and he told me this and blah blah blah. That's actually we're not really supposed to be doing that as much. So Vanessa, I'm gonna answer your question in general terms because you actually asked it in general terms. So thank you for that. Okay, does an open work permit holder can start working as soon as he landed in Canada? So yes. If they have an open work permit, they can start working. Okay, it's open. They can start working. It's not contingent on anything. Now, it might be contingent. There were some changes on some different things, and I'm not going to get into that. There were some because it doesn't actually pertain to this situation, but there were some changes with people that were doing the flip floppy with the student to the work permit, and then the other person going student to work permit. So there were, they made some changes. Man, what was that? It's about a year ago, right? But it doesn't sound like that was your question. So as long as they land, they got the open work permit, good to go. I'm presuming that you're here as well, probably on a study permit. All right. As for the study permit minors, is it advisable to enroll them before going to Canada, or is it okay to look for a school as soon as they get there? Depends. You don't actually need to look for a school. Because what they get is basically, if they're minors, they can study at any public institution. So you don't need a DLI or anything like that. It's all part of it. They're gonna get a study permit to be able to study and just go from there. Okay. I think that's that. All right. Give me another question. Hope that helps, Vanessa. Wilfred from Taguig, my buddy from Taguig.
Yeah, his question is quite long, but the what he actually means is that he's 46 years old and uh, and because of the pandemic he lost his job. So and right now he's asking if he can, or can he still be able to work in Canada despite of his age, and his past work experience was sales and retail supervisor. It's quite long. So that's that, sir. Can you share some advice or insights?
Okay, so it's a long question. So let me break that down for Wilfred. Okay, so what do we got here? So dream job, yeah, 46. As I said, we had somebody that was 45. That's not a big deal. You can do that. To be honest, I was one of those who lost work the past years because of the pandemic. Yeah, I know there was a lot of people that lost jobs because of that. And I'm sorry about that. So I thought myself about going back to when I was young and apply abroad. Okay, cool. Especially in Canada. My work experience was more sales and retail. So as I was saying, it would be difficult for you to get a job to be able to do that from there in that type of job. If you're looking in sales and retail, you really have to be in demand. A lot of the stuff that I do is for people that are in demand, like IT, like really, like I'm bringing in a guy now, and the company can't wait to get him here because the guy's very skilled at what he does. I don't even understand what he does. I just know that they really want him because he can do great things. Okay. Um, you know, might be a little challenging if, and please, this is a just a little thing for everybody that's listening. Don't fall prey to like paying for a job, right? You're gonna have people that'll ask you, "Oh, I can get you a job, just pay this money." Nope, don't do it. Like 99.9% of the time it's a scam. So stay clear of that. And again, don't sit on the internet and just start applying for jobs. It's very difficult unless you're in demand. Now, I'll give you another example, like a chef or a cook or something along those lines, like a line cook. Um, you can get, I know people that are hiring all over the place, but sometimes they're hiring from different places, like, the Middle East or Hong Kong or Singapore or different places, because they don't want to do the POEA stuff, right? So again, I don't hire for jobs. I don't do that stuff. I do paperwork for jobs, but I don't hire. But I do see what goes on. So, and I get a lot of inquiries. So, Wilfred, it might be a little challenging for you to get into sales or retail supervisors from there. Um, I'm submitting one right now for a retail sales supervisor for an LMIA, but the person's here, and the employer already knows the person. They came on an English program, right? And they didn't even have a thing. They did a co-op, and the person loved them and was like, "I want to keep you," right? So that's how these things tend to happen. All right. If you want to look at some alternative ways, Wilfred, please reach out to us, and we can go from there. Okay. Hope that helps, man. But yeah, that's it. Hit me again, Sean.
Okay, awesome. So, sir, before we proceed with another question, I'm gonna show some. So they're thanking. So Nash is thanking us for answering his
Thanks,
question.
Nash. Thank
This
you.
for the same for Vanessa. So she's also thanking us for answering her questions. And
Yes, Vanessa.
Wilfred. So, okay,
Thanks, Wilfred.
thank
We
you.
got who's that?
Oops. Okay.
Chris.
Yes. Yep. So moving on with another question. So Chris, she's asking for about the student visa. Is there a chance you'll still get denied when you reach the border if they're not satisfied with your answer? So she's talking. she's in talking about if there's an interview in before you get to Canada or yeah, something related to that.
I wish I could have a live conversation with Chris and ask her why she's asking that question. Uh, Chris, if you could give me some more details about that, I'd be really interested because that's an interesting question. Um, so technically, yes. Technically, if you get to the border and the officer is not satisfied that you're, say, a bona fide student, yeah, they can take that away. Um, they would have to have some pretty good reason. But yeah, no, the way the system works, I'll use a better example for you. Um, so if you're applying for PR, you have to have money, and the money has to be in your account at the time of application. It has to be at the time of application. It has to be at the time you file your ITA, and then it has to be at the time you land. So when you come to the border, for instance, and the border officer says, "Show me your settlement funds." If you don't have it, you could have a problem, right? Same thing, like maybe you have show money, right? A lot of people have show money. So this money that kind of floats around and goes different places, right? If you don't have access to that money, yeah, they could take it away, right? The idea behind the border officer is that they're the last line. Like, think about it. You apply to a computer. You never talk to anybody. The first time normally you get to talk to somebody is at the border. If that officer asks you a question and they don't like it, you're going to go from primary inspection, that we call it the pill line, the primary inspection line. So you get off the plane, come down the stairs, and there's a big sign that says "Welcome to Canada," and then you go into the arrivals hall. You're going to go through all these things. Actually, you go to these machines now. You do the machine, and then you come to an officer, and then they're going to say, "What are you doing? Why are you coming to Canada? You got any alcohol, tobacco? What are you doing here?" Okay, go there, right? And go to secondary, maybe get your thing. Secondary is an interesting place, right? Because secondary is where they have time to ask you questions and dive into your stuff and look at your stuff. Primary inspection line, they're like, yep, go, 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 go. Oh, don't like that. Go in there. Oh, computer told me to send you there. Okay, go. Right? And they're just sorting people. Right? But when you get into secondary, it's a weird place, man. You get, it's either the happiest day for people or the not so happy day for people, right? They're landing people with their PRs. They're giving out work and study permits, or maybe they're catching a smuggler, right? Or maybe somebody's applying for refugee status because they're escaping something. All these things are going on. It's an interesting place, right? But yeah, they could send you in there and you could go to secondary and they could say, sorry, I'm taking it away. Actually, I will tell you a story, Chris. Many, many years ago, I was sitting with my older daughter. She was a lot younger then. It was a Saturday afternoon about 4 o'clock, and I'll never forget it. I was sitting on the couch, and we were watching A Shark's Tale. I don't know if you saw that movie. It was great. So we were sitting there, and I was kind of dozing off a little bit, and we're watching Shark's Tale, and the phone rings, and it's a friend of mine. Calls me up, and he's like, "Hey, can you help me out?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Watching Shark's Tale with my daughter. What's going on?" He's like, "My friends, they came to the airport." And they were landing, they get their PR and they refused to land them and they took their passports away. I'm like, what did they do? The officer asked them. The lady had a Quebec PNP, right? So as part of a PNP program, you have to land and you have to show an intent to reside in Quebec. The lady was landing, she said to the officer, "Oh, I'm coming to Ontario because I'm pregnant and I want to stay with my sister, so I'm going to live here for a few months and then I'll go to Quebec." Officer's like, "No, you won't." Took the passports. The happiest day turned into the worst day, and that was it, right? So yeah, you got to be careful at the border. Anytime you go to a border, you're in flux, right? Things can happen. Okay? Thanks for that question, Chris. I don't get that question a lot. I think that question is asked very, very randomly, but that's a good question. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, wait, hold on. She wrote something else there. Put that up. What did she say?
She
Getting more and more nervous. Where did she say that?
more and more.
Thank you so much. Don't be nervous. I didn't want to make you feel nervous, Chris, unless you're doing something bad and maybe you are nervous. I don't know. But no, you shouldn't feel nervous. Look, the border guys are intimidating because that's how they get in. They find out if you're actually doing bad things. Some of them will be very nice, and that's their way of getting you to tell them stuff. And some of them are like, "What are you doing here today? What do you got in your bag? What do you got this?" Right? In Canada, they're not really like that, right? When you go over to the U.S. border, though, they're very aggressive. "Why are you coming here? What are you doing? Or you said this." "No, I didn't. I didn't say that." They kind of make you because they trip you up. So don't feel nervous. They're just doing a job. And the worst thing is that if they do want to do something, there's a process and they have to follow the rules. So again, as long as you're not doing anything wrong, Chris, don't worry about it. You'll be fine. And if you are coming here, we'll see you soon. All right.
Okay.
Any other stuff, Sean?
So none so far, sir. So I think we're good to wrap this up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just gonna read Joseph's message. So he's saying, "Thank you for the webinar. I've learned so much about it, and he will manifest the advice and insights that he's taken from the survey."
Yeah.
Thank
Good.
you. And
Good.
yeah, and so that's about it. Okay. And I
Sounds
would like
great.
to thank you to all viewers who watch our live webinar from start until the end. So, and also for those guys who just recently tuned in or didn't get to watch the live webinar, so we'll be posting the replay so that you won't miss any discussion, anything about the discussion. And of course, big thank you to our in-house immigration consultant, Sir Brandon Miller, for making this live webinar possible and for sharing his knowledge and insights about the immigration perspective. And yeah, so thank you very much, sir.
All right. Hey, you know what? Thanks, guys, for being here. We've had a pretty good group of people here, and I really enjoyed the questions. And thanks for having me, Sean. I love hanging out with you, Sean. We always have such a good time, and it's good. And yeah, let's do it again soon, man. It's
Yep,
fun.
let's do it again soon. And I have an important announcement. So we'll also be having another webinar on September 30. That's on Friday at 11 a.m. In Philippine time. So our guest is from the Fleming College. So we'll be talking about the programs that they offer, the tuition fees, and some other stuff that is related to the school. So might you want to uh, learn about the Fleming College? So stay tuned in, and so that you won't be missing any announcements from the Maple Visa team. So and that's it. I think. Uh,
That's it, eh? Let's wrap it up.
let's wrap it up. And sir, have a good night
I
because
will.
it's pretty late in the evening right now in your area,
Yeah.
in Canada.
It's getting cold too, Sean. It's getting a
Yeah,
little cold.
yeah.
So I woke
And
up this morning. It was like,
the day's just starting here in the Philippines, so we'll get to move on. We'll
uh,
get tired
that's
and
it. Let's let
okay.
everybody go and get on with their day. Guys, thanks again for being here. Thanks, Sean. It's good seeing you. And we'll see everybody soon. We'll see you in Canada soon.
Pleasure working with you, sir. Bye
Yes, for
bye.
sure.
Bye,
Take care,
guys.
guys.
In the next
Bye.
webinar.